Hi, welcome to Mind and Body Wellness, a television show where we talk about the health of your mind, body, and spirit, where we interview a variety of guests from the mainstream to the alternative. I'm your host, Clovis Colley, and today in the studio we have Todd Hurley from No Name Nutrition. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Clovis.
How's it going today?
Very good. How are you?
Good. Real good. Glad to have you on. You know, I've been shopping up there at No Name Nutrition for years, and now I'm kind of learning a little bit about the background and how No Name Nutrition came into being. And it's really kind of a cool story. And, you know, anybody that shops at No Name kind of probably knows who your dad is. And
Yeah, they pretty much all know our whole family.
And so this is a family-owned business, which I like. You know, I like supporting local community things, and especially something, you know, that helps people. You know, we're in the business of helping people feel better and be well. But so your dad years ago had a little battle with cancer. Or,
he was told by some experts he had colon cancer, and my grandfather's brother, my great uncle Orville, sent him to a nutritional dentist, Dr. Donald William Kelly, one of the early natural cancer pioneers. And that's a lot of how our business came to be. Is they started shopping at a little health food store and ended up buying it, and have grown it to what it is now.
Really? So, well, what did the dentist have him do years ago?
Back in that day with colon cancer, the biggest part of the protocol was zero sugar, zero meat, doing colon hydrotherapy, large amounts of carrot juice, very large amounts of a high potency pancreatic enzyme. It's probably the basis of what he had him doing at that point.
Right. So how long did it take before you got a clear checkup?
You know, that was back when I was 2 or 3. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
But for the last 40 some odd years, he's never been told he has cancer again.
I see. That upsets some people if you don't have cancer anymore.
It's a very big business.
Right. So you got all kinds of cool things going on. Now, of course, we don't give any medical advice or anything like that, and we don't even tell people to go check with their doctor because that's medical advice. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't take my advice.
Yep.
But so anyway, so we're going to talk about some vitamins, some different nutritional supplements, and taking care of your body through just really kind of watching, you know, selecting things that support your health. And so, what are the couple things that are out there that may be more on the more nutritional side are recommended?
As far as foods or supplements?
Well, just a change in diet, and I know we talk a lot about sugar, and sugar seems to be the absolute most destructive thing known to man, besides atom bombs.
Sugars, white flours, and artificial sweeteners. Many people feel that's one of the top causes of cancer and one of the biggest things holding us back with almost every disease we have.
Really? So the sugar just can basically kind of feed a cancer, or?
Well, a lot of things will tell you that sugar within 30 seconds of touching your lips, somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds later, is actually feeding the cancer cells.
Really?
Yep.
So if we go back to something a little more natural, something that we would be eating 100 years ago, less chance of cancer.
Well, most diseases at least improve or get better, even if they don't go away.
Okay. Well, and you know, there's one theory out there that says acidity is a big deal, having your pH, and your body's always correcting the pH all the time, but you can stress it in a way that it makes it very hard for it to do it.
Well, some of the experts believe that your blood always maintains homeostasis no matter what it has to do to the rest of your body. And so when you're doing too imbalanced of a lifestyle, your body's stripping itself down and breaking itself down, trying to maintain that homeostasis, that balance.
Like leaching calcium out of your bones?
It'd be one of the many.
Okay. Yep. And do some people theorize that's the kind of the basis of osteoporosis?
A lot of people in the nutritional field believe that's at least a piece of it.
Okay. All right. Now, I've also heard people say, you know, and I've listened to some of the alternative views about cancer, and they say you can walk into a cancer ward and you can smell the ammonia or you know, the chemicals that come out of people. They kind of have a certain scent to them, and they have dogs that can smell cancer. And
yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, I know the radiation levels and some of the other levels are very, very high in those people, and the more toxins and poisons you have sitting in your body, the more foul odors your body off gases usually.
Sure. I like that word, or don't like that word as a matter of fact, off gas, but it sounds pretty sensory descriptive.
Yeah.
So we'll stick with that. It's one of your favorite things to do there in that store. And I know I come and get, I just absolutely hate toothpaste. I think it tastes horrible. So I come and get the natural toothpaste. And I tell you what, I mean, my teeth feel so much cleaner from, and it's just kind of a, you know what, a natural thing. It's kind of baking soda and maybe a little salt or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones that are very, very clean, very simple, very basic, like our great-grandparents used to use that they'd make at home.
Yeah, my teeth just feel great. For some reason, the whole fact of fluoride poisoning babies, I don't even want a little bit of poison in my mouth.
We certainly try and avoid it ourselves. There's a lot of people that believe it's extremely detrimental.
Sure. You know, and as far as tap water goes, you know, there's a lot of people that avoid it now because the chlorine seems like it's getting much higher in the tap water. And I know, I mean, some days you drink a little bit of it, tastes like drinking some water right out of a swimming pool.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Once a city, most major cities adapted adding ammonia, formaldehyde, and asbestos to the water many, many years ago. And
what's the asbestos?
I am not honestly sure what its purpose is supposed to be, but the trouble is the ammonia and the chlorine form together to form chloramines and chloramines. And your normal refrigerator filter, your little Brita pitchers and stuff, most of those don't remove the chloramines and the chloramines.
What do chloramines and chloramines do? This doesn't sound good.
Well, there are toxins and chemicals. I mean, you know, chlorine, like in a swimming pool, you're always having to add more because it dissipates.
Right.
Chloramines and chloramines, they say never break down and never leave.
So they'll stay right in the water, huh?
They'll stay in the water, which is what makes it bacteria and virus free, but unfortunately it's leaving a toxic residue that a lot of people believe is harmful.
Yeah, you know, some people, you know, kind of act like maybe it was the penguin that came up with this idea to put chlorine in the water like it was some evil, you know, thing.
Plot.
But, you know, back 100 years ago, many more people were dying from bacteria-laden water.
Sure.
Cholera and weird stuff in the water than, you know, so it really was a good thing at one time to do this.
Certainly serves a purpose.
Is there an alternative out there for chlorine in the water that's maybe expensive or we can't quite afford to do yet, but may do sometime in the future?
Well, I mean, a lot of people and a lot of machines use ozone. They use negative ion treatment. They use silver. You know, copper is supposed to kill bacteria. There's a lot of different mediums, but most of them are very, very, very costly on a large scale.
I see, and the chlorine is cheap. That's why we're still using it.
That's what most people believe is the biggest reason.
Okay. All right. Now, moving on. Now, so we remove the sugar a little bit, and I don't think anybody would, I don't even think the doctors would argue with you. Removing sugar from your diet's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know some parents with behavioral problems with their kids say they take them off the food diets, and a lot of that will straighten out. Have you heard of that?
We have a lot of people that see it less, and it can come from so many different things. It can be from the dyes, from the colors, from the preservatives, to the sugars, to the flours. You know, and different people tend to react to different things. So there's not one across the board, but sugar's probably the biggest thing to help break the backbone.
I see. So it's, what do they call it? Your allopathic load, is that the correct terminology?
You know, I'm not sure on that. That's one term you hear thrown around that way, so that's probably the main one.
Okay, so a little bit of aluminum's not going to hurt you. A little bit of, you know, fake sugar's not going to hurt you. A little bit of fluoride's not going to hurt you. A little bit of chloramine's not going to hurt you. But when you start stacking,
that's the trouble. I mean, the body can only handle so much toxic load. You know, it's kind of like keep dumping dirt and toxins and poisons down on your side of your car and see how long the engine continues to last.
Right. Well, you know, in many cultures, you know, you used to fast.
Oh, absolutely. Clear back in biblical times.
And, you know, I think even some religions do require that as part of the religion that you fast.
Yeah, there are some that still do.
You know, your body gets a chance to catch up a little bit, dissipate some toxins. And I know I fasted for a week before, and you start sweating out stuff, and it can make you a little woozy because your body's letting go of some toxins. And
especially if you fast. I mean, one of the doctors that I believe in and I try to follow, he believes in what he calls a liquid feast. He says, don't starve your body with just water. Put your body on a huge amount of nutrition. So get a juicer and just start juicing every fresh vegetable you can find. You get hungry, you get weak, drink some more. You know, just continue to flood the body and re-nourish the body so as it detoxifies, it's also being rebuilt.
Huh, that's a neat idea. Jack LaLanne sure loved that.
Yeah, there's a few of them that way.
I think he was maybe the granddaddy of juicing.
He's probably the one that put it on the map the best.
We're not talking about Lyle Alzado juicing. We're talking about juicing vegetables and things like that. I mean, that certainly doesn't sound like it could be a bad thing.
Well, it's existed since the start of time.
Juicing?
Well, eating fruits and vegetables. And juicing, you're just concentrating the fruits and vegetables and avoiding a lot of the processed and refined things.
I see. What are some of the things out there besides sugar that are maybe causing people some major problems?
Well, it depends on the person. I mean, just the whole chemical load. I mean, the genetically modifieds are a lot of people that really feel that to be a major detriment. Colors, foods, preservatives, dyes, artificial sweeteners. I mean, it's a laundry list. There's kind of an old adage I always like to fall back on, that it comes out of a package, put it down. If it came out of the ground, put it in your mouth.
Well, there you go. Shop on the ends, not in the middle.
Exactly. Shop the outskirts of the grocery store.
We talked a little bit, you get in there. I was in there for a little zinc, which is good for, male support.
Yeah.
A lot of guys having a lot of troubles, and you got some different kinds of things for that.
There's a lot of different herbs people use. I mean, one of the biggest things a lot of guys are finding successful is to take a few of the herbs that have traditionally been used to help the prostate, but also work with some of the anti-inflammatory herbs like ginger and turmeric and a few of those.
I see. Okay. Anything for performance?
Oh, there's lots of stuff for that.
Okay. And so you don't have to get the little blue pill. You can get a little natural something or other.
There's a lot of different herbs. I mean, ginseng's probably the one that holds the longest history, and it doesn't do bad, but there's a lot of other herbs that tend to perform a lot better.
There's a lot of people that are having, I think I hear more and more of couples having a hard time having a baby. Mm-hmm. One of the, I read a book called It's All Been a Big Fat Lie, how they've scared people away from eating fat so much. And fat's a precursor to all your hormones, and everybody now is becoming hormone deficient. And
well, between that and all the steroids and growth hormones and antibiotics fed to the animals that are later ingested into our bodies.
Do they really last through that process? Are you really getting the?
Well, they still test them in the water supplies of the cities, which have left your body and gone through the sewer treatment and stuff, and then make it to the water supply. And I know EWG.org is still testing them into the water to this day.
And they're higher than they should be, or there's alarming amounts of?
Oh yeah, they're showing up blood pressure medication and antibiotics and all kinds of different medications and chemicals coming through.
Wow. It'd be hard to believe that, you think this Missouri River is just millions of gallons of water, and it would be so diffuse by the time it goes back in the water that you wouldn't.
Well, I think part of the problem is probably there's a lot of power plants that sit on the river. There's a lot of other chemical treatment plants for sewage and stuff that sit on the river, not to mention ours.
Right. Well, some people talk about drinking distilled water and having fantastic results with that. And I know I did, and it seemed to really it's supposed to bind up the histamines in your body, and it really cleared my nose out and gave me a lot of breathing room up in my nostrils, and it was better than actually taking an allergy pill.
It oftentimes can help a lot. I mean, that's what I grew up on, is distilled water, and we've kind of moved on to different waters that are just about as pure without using as much electricity or wasting as much water.
I see. Now, are there things, that's a big deal for people, allergies, and I think it is this chemical load that we're under that's causing a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
There was Dr. Bob Mongalogist who said, everybody's dehydrated and your body will not work right if you are out of water.
Well, a lot of the supposed water experts that we tend to follow will tell you that between 80 and 90% of the American population is dehydrated. But how many people drink clean, pure water that their cells can absorb? Even if they do, how many people get electrolytes so that your cell can absorb that water? Drinking coffee and pop and Gatorade doesn't contain those natural factors.
I see. Well, the coffee's a diuretic. So
absolutely.
Is there something, I was reading, and I'm not as well educated in this kind of arena as I would like to be, but I do pick up some stuff. And I was listening to a guy, and he was a chemist, and he was talking about how a lot of people, he said he's almost never seen a properly hydrated cell. That they're always got a little bit of a fever and they're always a little bit dehydrated.
I'd say in the American population, I don't know about other cultures, but in America, I'd say that's probably very, very true. A lot of sources tell us half the time we're not hungry, we're just so thirsty that we turn around and make the mistake of eating, trying to replace that, and it just continues to go on. So we continue to eat, trying to get that moisture, and we never do.
Right. We are big overeaters. I had a friend of mine
Absolutely.
from Denmark came here and he was appalled at the amount of food we ate. You know, he was looking at me like I was eating 4 meals.
Oh yeah, the size of our portions and the quality of the food. And
Yeah, and you can eat here and starve to death at the same time.
yeah, it's funny. You can keep eating and not feel full.
Right, right. You don't get the nutrition.
But that's one big thing a lot of people tell you when you're trying to lose weight is get off the sugars, get off the white flours, get off the artificial sweeteners, because they actually stimulate your appetite. And
Really?
I've always noticed, have you ever noticed you sit down to Thanksgiving or a big meal and you eat until you're stuffed, you eat one bite of dessert, and what do you do next? You finish the dessert and then you're looking for more dessert because the sugar kind of shuts off the brain's receptors to tell your body when it's full.
Okay. Well, I know that also you get these wild insulin spikes up and down, up and down,
absolutely.
up and down. And if you can get that smoothed out, you're in a lot better shape. The one thing that I found is that if I exercise within about 15 minutes after that food hits my bloodstream, it works a lot better.
Makes a big
I got
difference.
a lot better workout.
Yeah.
My metabolism seems to stay up higher.
Sure.
And I used to buy into the thing you exercise on an empty stomach.
There's not much
And
fuel
I
to run on
found
then.
out that's a real good way to crash your metabolism. By the time you get done working out, you're so hungry, then you're going to eat on a crash metabolism. I flipped that around, and I absolutely, you can just kind of tell when your metabolism's up.
Oh, sure.
And for a couple days, I get a good kind of afterburn, I suppose
Well,
you could
your
call
car
it.
doesn't run without gas. Your body doesn't run without fuel very well. It'll
Right.
survive, but it doesn't work very well.
Right. Now, one of the things I do is help people quit smoking cigarettes. It's my passion and part of my purpose in life, I think, is to help people easily get off cigarettes. Do we have to talk about why cigarettes are bad for you?
I hope everyone knows that by this point.
I think a lot of smokers they know it
They're in denial.
more than anybody else.
Yeah, they're addicted and in denial a lot of times.
Yeah, and they know.
Yeah.
They don't take a very square look at the situation, but they know that they're doing that. They just want to know how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Sure.
And they're very afraid that it's going to be very painful to get off of them or very uncomfortable. That's why they don't want to get started.
And I've run into a lot that are scared to death they're going to gain so much weight because most people, when they quit smoking, turn to sugar to replace the sugar and the yeast that they're getting out of the cigarettes.
Right. Well, yeah, I heard, and I don't want to get too much in conjecture, but there is enough sugar in the nicotines, it's almost like freebasing sugar or like freebasing cocaine.
Yeah.
That smoke hits the pleasure centers in your lungs, and that's why they do reach for sugar.
The excitotoxins.
Right, right. And so with the fake sugars, excitotoxins. And now we're finding out you can drink diet pop till the cows come home and you'll never lose any weight because you still get an insulin spike from it and your body goes into fast storing
Yeah.
mode.
It won't kill a diabetic because it's not spiking their sugars, but it's still causing just as many, if not more, problems on the other side.
Right, right. I found it to be, if I drink a bunch of diet pop, I might get a little foggy.
Really?
Or a lot foggy, yeah. It does. I notice that it affects my thinking.
Well, a lot of people say
the
that
aspartame.
a lot of people say the aspartame causes the brain cells to turn into formaldehyde. That's a
Well,
common belief with it.
That's not handy.
Not real good.
Well, it's like I told Dr. JC, who we interview on here, I want the formaldehyde on the outside until I'm dead.
That's right.
When
Then you
I'm
can put
dead,
it
they
in
can
me.
put all the formaldehyde inside me they want. But
Absolutely.
up until then, I'm
Prefer to avoid.
just not big on formaldehyde inside my body.
Good plan.
So let's talk about BPHs.
Okay.
Estrogen mimickers, soy products. You sold me a product that we won't say the names of the products, but something that helps bind up those BPHs that screw with your testosterone production.
Yeah, typically from cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and a few of those. A lot of the products that way contain like Jerusalem artichoke, milk thistle, a few other things that are just known to help break things down and start the cleansing process very gently. Certainly not doing a full cleanse, but most people find it enough to start helping with the xenoestrogens.
So that'll bind up or rid your body of xenoestrogens?
I don't know if it binds up. My favorite way to describe it is like Pac-Man. Pac-Man goes around, gobbles up the dots. The products along that line are supposed to kind of go around and gobble up the xeno or chemical estrogens and break them down so that your body can get rid of them.
Okay. Well, Pac-Man works good for me. I don't like big words, so we'll just stick with Pac-Man. Lots of xenoestrogens, lots of fake estrogen mimickers, problems for men. it causes problems for women too, doesn't it?
Well, most experts believe that the xenoestrogens cause PMS, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, uterine fibroids, fibroid tumors, breast cancer, all kinds of different problems occur from the xenoestrogens. A small amount your body can probably deal with, but they get too large and it just creates too large of an imbalance and you get hormonal issues going on.
That's big.
That's huge.
Very big at this time. And, you've watched this a little closer. As your dad ever said, did women have all these problems 40, 50 years ago, just chronic?
I've never asked. I've never heard of it. I know it was a little more close communication back then, but just in my lifetime, you look at the amount of problems that younger girls have had and stuff. I'm only 47 and it's grown exponentially in my lifetime.
You've just seen it doing what you do, more people asking for help with that stuff.
Well, fertility issues, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, uterine fibroids, all these things you rarely used to hear of.
Really, what's the deal there?
Most experts that I tend to follow believe it's largely tied to the xenoestrogens, or a chemical estrogen that blocks the estrogen receptor sites. It's like putting a piece of plastic over an estrogen receptor site, so all other estrogens stack on top, hence an estrogen dominant condition.
Okay, and then you can get those things like the cycle can really get knocked out of whack, become painful.
A lot of girls will have, even if they don't have a disease from it, much worse periods, much heavier flow, all the wonderful things these poor girls experience.
I'm glad I'm born again. The girls get the short end of the stick.
They
got
do.
to put up with all this. They got to put up with all the bad stuff.
Yeah, they get all the fun hormonal problems.
Right. What other kinds of things can we do? I mean, you got 10 rows of different kinds of stuff that I go in there, I just look, and I think maybe I should eat one of everything in here, and I could be really healthy.
It's pretty easy to start thinking that way. You start reading the symptoms, like, oh my gosh, I have this, I have that, I have the other thing. I usually tell people, pick your biggest problems. Pick your A list and let's start working on that. Let's start changing your lifestyle, even if it's not perfect. Every one bad we cut out and every one good we gain, we start tipping the scales more and more in our favor.
I see. Let's talk about the doctor that was there, and he gave me some enzyme caplets because he said the food's not breaking down like it's supposed to.
Well, the theory behind that with all the enzyme research is that our foods nowadays are dead. They're chemically refined, they're processed, they're cooked, they're microwaved to death. And you eat a raw fruit or raw vegetable and it digests in 20 minutes. You eat a cooked processed food and the digestive process is much more complicated, and there's a lot more undigested food floating around your system, is what a lot of experts believe.
I see. Well, I know I kind of went on a little deal like that where I was eating much, and I think he told me, and this has been quite a few years ago, at least half your diet should be some raw food, and I did for a while. And I got to tell you, I got a pretty good kick in energy.
Oh, absolutely.
I really could tell the difference in doing that.
I mean, usually your joints feel better, blood pressure, cholesterol, all those things improve at least some.
Right. Now, I think, we're living in a constant state of inflammation.
Well, I mean, most parts of American medicine tell us that 85 to 90% of all disease is caused from an inflammatory response in the body.
How do we get that to kind of go away through natural means?
Well, ideally, altering our diet and altering our lifestyle. Start eating real live foods, start getting away from the refined, the processed, the heavily acidic foods. A lot of people find a great deal of help through turmeric, sometimes through ginger, sometimes through curry, some of the different herbs and stuff that have a very profound anti-inflammatory effect.
See, well, a lot of cultures, they had a lot of those things in them all the time, My favorite is Indian food, and I always get this dish with ginger in it.
Ginger and turmeric exists in almost every single one of their foods.
Right. Well, in some of those cultures, they live to be very, very, very ripe old ages,
With very few problems.
Okinawa. I saw this book, and I can't remember what it is, and I wish I could remember, but it was talking more about posture. And it showed these guys carrying these large pots of water on top of their head into the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Sure.
Being very productive at very old ages. They may have looked a little weathered, but they still look like powerhouses. They still look like they could get out in the field and pick food by hand. And
well, there's a lot of cultures around the world that they still do. If they don't do it, they don't exist, they don't eat.
Right. may not be such a bad thing. I'm not ready to go back to it, but
Yeah, it's probably a little more extreme than what we'd like to, but high level of activity is very important.
I like air conditioning.
Yes,
Real
definitely.
good, real well. So yeah, I don't really want to go back to picking corn by hand, but
Yeah.
we talk about corn. Corn's kind of a little bit of an unnatural thing in our diet. It's very high glycemic, and a lot of our diet is based on corn.
Well, high fructose corn syrup for sure.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's terrible for you. Not to mention most corn's genetically modified, which more and more countries around the world are outlawing the use of anything genetically modified.
A friend of mine, his buddy was feeding his calves. The calves were kicking over dead, feeding them GMO food.
Yep.
We're getting to be under 2 minutes here.
Okay.
Todd, what's the mission at No Name Nutrition?
Honestly, just to try and help people. It's a fun job. I mean, you can actually earn a living while trying to assist people in achieving a better lifestyle, a better quality of health, having fewer problems, and you meet a lot of great people in between.
Right. Every time I'm there, I seem to run into somebody and just have a nice conversation with them for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I know all your staffs seem to be very knowledgeable and always seem to be chipper and really wanting to
Trying to help.
Talk about stuff. And,
Oh, absolutely.
maybe that's the two places I find where I get good customer service is coffee shops and No Name Nutrition. So
Good.
coffee, there must be something in coffee that makes you happy, and there must be something in vitamins that make you you
Well,
happy.
there's probably some truth to that.
You feel good, you act good, right?
Absolutely. Well, and that's the majority of our customers are trying to achieve better things in life. They have higher ambitions, higher religious values, higher moral values, higher family values. They're just happier people a lot of times.
Or what I tell my weight loss clients is health has to be your number one value. Without it, nothing else matters. Kids don't matter, grandkids don't matter, job, career. Thanks for coming and being on.
Absolutely.
Go and talk to Todd at No Name Nutrition. Bend his ear a little bit. He'll talk to you. My name's Clovis Colley. This show has been brought to you by Nebraska Counseling and Hypnosis Center. We do stop smoking and weight loss, among many other things. Thanks for tuning in. Our mission is to, spread the word about things that help. Interesting, different ways of looking at things and doing things. And so that's what we do here on this show. And we'll see you around next time. Thanks a lot.